one. Hey, how's everybody doing today? Welcome back for the next episode of Coffee Talk with Brohawk. And it is my pleasure, and I've been wanting to do this conversation for a long time. I have Valerie McSorley on with us today. And Valerie, you and I have known each other for years. You're someone who's definitely had your business that I knew you in years ago impacted by the pandemic and everything. So tell our viewers a little bit about what you're doing these days, a little bit about yourself and what's going on with you.
Well, hi, Mark. It's a pleasure to be with you here today. Yeah, you're spot on. I was in an industry that was heavily impacted by COVID. I built a business in the event industry that was 20 years strong, and had a very niche portfolio in contact center, customer service, and customer experience events all throughout the US. So when COVID hit, we were actually a week away from the first of a 5-city tour. So somewhere there's event supplies that were shipped out to our first stop of 2020 in Phoenix, Arizona. And from there, the wheels came off and never quite went back. And I was fortunate enough to be able to pivot into the virtual space and to pick up all of the places that we had planned to go in 2020 and convert them into a virtual experience that was a month long. And from there, was really needed was a conversation in the industry at that time. Everyone was sort of trying to figure it out, and the world was sort of falling for everyone at once. It was a very unique time. And I basically built a runway of conversation for the industry and continue that community in the virtual space. And that they started on a weekly basis. And at that time, it was really invaluable to bring people together, much like we would do live. But what was interesting was we were able to push far beyond those 5 cities that I was traveling to. And it really became a global community of contact center professionals.
I know I attended several of those virtual meetups and whatnot. And literally there's global connections that were gained and I would offer to say global friendships that have been gained as a
Yes.
result of
Yes.
um, you bringing a lot of people together and a lot of great ideas together and a hat tip to you, my friend, for having the fortitude to continue to move forward with that when everything pivoted for us.
Well, you had
Now,
to keep going. You really had to keep going. And what's really interesting now is that now I've had the opportunity and just a great experience, the great pleasure to actually meet some of these folks that in real life that I met
yes,
virtually. So as things have opened up now, so I've gotten to meet some folks in person, and it's an amazing experience because I feel like we know each other, like we've created this sort
yes.
of environment where there was a webinar coming out every 5 minutes, and I was determined to be a little different. I wanted people to be able to talk and to share and to just, connect on new ideas. And my goal was, I don't care what it takes. I'm going to pull you through the screen with me, and we're going to have an experience. And that has led to exactly what you're saying. Really nice friendships within the industry, really nice just relationships. And that's everything.
You know, I think we were talking before, and I think the phrase you mentioned was the network. Your network is your net worth. You know,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
so now what are you doing these days? Now that you've pivoted away a little bit.
Yeah. So, along the way, the writing was on the wall that even though things were starting to come back and that pendulum was starting to swing back, I realized it really was no longer made for an army of one. So, I decided to pick up my skill set and look at what I really enjoyed about the work that I did. And it really came down to relationships, and it was the people. And, we're in the industry of care, and I like to think of it as we have the biggest industry with the smallest community. And, just retooling, what do I really like to do? What is at
Yep.
the heart of like the work that lights me up? And it really is connecting people, and it really is bringing the right relationships together. and making things happen. So you don't have to do that under the four walls of an event. You can do that. And there's a lot of pieces that I enjoy that I've now translated to my new role. So I work for Live Pro. I'm their SVP of partner success here in North America. And they're a knowledge management company based in Australia. And they're about 22 years old. And we've really been expanding very rapidly throughout the past, I've been with them now since August. We've been experiencing some really rapid growth through the US in the past 6-7 months. So it's been really exciting. And it's been really the great next step for me as I look back and I pick up the pieces that make the most sense. Like my network and all the relationships that I built and all the work that I've done just really plug in so beautifully to this new role. And I'm very passionate about what Live Pro does, because at the end of the day, it really empowers agents to do their best work. And I really believe that agents have the most difficult job. And when they can be empowered with the right tools that they need at the right time for speed and accuracy and precision, they have the confidence, they're empowered to do their best work.
Now, something you just said just really resonated. It wasn't the words that you said, but it's how you said it. And it's how I remember first meeting you. Because you had such an amazing passion for what you were doing when we first met in New England years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the passion for what you're doing today, it comes through in how you talk about the work that you do, for Live Pro. And I would say, I would offer that, when you have that level of passion, you never feel like you work a day in your life.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. And I was raised on and truly believe at my core, everyone goes to work for the same amount of time in a day, right? You can go in and you can, just kind of drag yourself in and just kind of like, be a warm body in the seat, or you can go in every day and do your best work. And I think inherently people want to do their best work. They want to bring out the best. They want to shine. And how do you do that if you don't have the right tools in front of you? It's a very frustrating process if you don't have the right tools to do your job and to be completely supported to do your best work.
I completely agree. And the whole dragging yourself out of bed reminds me of a commercial from when you know what I'm talking about. Time to make the dough. And we're not going to plug anybody, but yeah, it's being able to just have that passion. I love hearing it in your voice, and I love seeing you capitalizing on a lot of your strengths going forward. So now that the contact center industry is starting to pivot more towards in person and hybrid events, and it's starting to bounce back a little bit. Do you miss that the event world?
No. No, no. There's a lot less headaches now. And I really believe, even though things are starting to shift back, there's just different challenges. I think it's a very demanding role, and always has been. And now there's even more demands around it, with travel restrictions, with, new viruses popping up, with folks not having the buy-in from their executive team to travel as much, to the decrease in productivity that you're taking away out in the field to travel. So there's a lot of reasons why, I think we've learned to adopt. I think that's one silver lining, is the adoption of technology, that we don't need to be everywhere. We can have great meetings right here. The technology's there. The adoption to the technology has really, people had to, out of necessity, start to learn these tools. And I think it's very, very valuable, because even when I was in the virtual space, I'm like, I'd hang up the Zoom and I'd say, wow, I just met with attendees from almost every single state in the US, plus on a global level. I could have never done that in real life. So I think that the adoption of the tools it's critical to success right now. But I will also say, at the same point, there's no substitute for being together. That you can't replace. We have the tools and we can leverage the tools, but there's never will be a substitute for being in person.
The interpersonal relationships, I mean, you'll see people talk about technology replacing everything that's done in a contact center.
Yes.
And while some of
Huge.
the low hanging
Chat
fruit can
GPT,
be
don't get me started. Oh my God.
exactly, oh, that's a whole other segment. um, technology, every so often, technologists will say, yeah, it's going to replace your need to have agents. You can go agentless. You can, it's going to improve your customer experience, et cetera, et cetera. But at the root of that really is um, people want to have that human connection in addition to the ease. And I was talking to Justin Robbins on a recent coffee talk, and we were talking about just going to the grocery store. Okay. And, if you have like 10 items or something, 15 items, you can go through the express line, self-service. You don't have to worry about it because you're probably not going to have any major questions about the products that are in your cart or anything like that. But then when you start getting into the larger carts, you're doing grocery shopping for a week or a month or whatever. Um, that's where stores are really putting in an agent, so to speak, a cashier there to be able to help you navigate any questions or product concerns or how much am I spending? Do I need to put something back? And it's just an easier customer experience, because that you know it's just there. Yeah, so I agree that there's never going to be a substitute for that human connection and
No, but at the
humanizing what we
grocery
do.
store, it doesn't matter if I have 3 items or a cart full. If
Yeah.
that self checker doesn't work, I need a person to
Hmm.
come over and help me. So, and it
Exactly.
never fails. I could be trying to save time and I only have 2, 3 items, but something's like wrong with the scanner or it's not registering on the belt and I need a person to
Yes.
come and help me anyway. And I think we're seeing that as well, in
Mhm.
the contact center space, because as the adoption is there for more self-service channels, the role of the agents become a lot more sophisticated. So
Yes.
yes, you can self-service, but if you get to the point where you can't answer your own question, because most people
Yep.
don't, we do everything with our phones now except want to talk on them. But by the time that we do, that agent needs to be a subject matter expert and be able to have the tools at their fingertips to answer the question. First call resolution.
Great segue to my next question for you.
Oh, okay,
And
good.
and that is, now that you made the pivot into knowledge management, what are you seeing as key components for a strong knowledge management process or program um, for contact centers?
Yeah, well, it's really an interesting time right now because in historically speaking, the adoption right now for knowledge management systems is higher than ever. And that's
Yep.
really based on, just as we were saying, the need for self-service channels, the adoption and the rise in AI in the contact center space,
Mhm.
really the demands to empower agents, right? So that they have the tools that they need at their fingertips. So there's a lot of pieces that are driving this, and just the speed, the talent pool being shortened up, right? You don't have as many agents on the floor, and you need to get them trained faster to be answer questions on the floor. You don't have 12 weeks to train them. And then guess what? The 12 weeks comes and they don't even make it to the floor because they're being offered $1 more an hour across the street. So
Exactly.
that, and then they walk out with all that training and expense with
Mhm.
them, right? So
Yep.
I think the biggest piece right now is when you can take and harness all of those pieces under one umbrella, and knowledge management can do that. There's a big difference between knowledge management systems and knowledge base as well. So a true
Yes.
system is going to have more power behind it. You can drive a Kia or you could drive a Ferrari. So you
Mhm.
want to make sure, and what's really the difference? You're going to get from A to B, but it's the difference in the ride and the experience, in the performance. When you have all of those pieces working together to support your training, to support your agent experience, to empower the frontline truly, to make them, the frontline that they are, to report when something's broken, to report when there's a shortage or something blows up on the front line. You need to have all of that under one roof,
Yes.
with even around reporting and governance, having an audit trail, all of those things can all be harnessed under one roof with your knowledge.
I love the fact that you never brought up the term customer experience in that entire description. You focused everything on the agent experience and empowering the agent and agent focused tools, agent enablement. Um, where is that where you really see the power of knowledge management processes being a strength in a technology stack? Because I mean, there's a lot of technology out there. I mean, you and I can go through. I'm going to age myself here. We can go through our Rolodex of all these technology companies that focus that will brand themselves as the next greatest thing since sliced bread and CX.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And knowledge management is really the knowledge management processes like with companies like LivePro, really focuses on the human side of things. Is that a fair statement?
So my mind's spinning. There's so many things I want to say, but what we really have is the true intersection of the agent experience with the customer experience. And that's where knowledge lives. So we spend so much money on technology. And what we really need to focus on is the agent experience. The technology is great. It's still human to human, right? So do you have the right tools that you need at your fingertips? Do you have the right answers at your fingertips with speed, with accuracy, with precision? Because all of your experiences start with the agent. If your agent doesn't have the information that the caller has at their fingertips, you've got long hold times, you've got, long waits, you're transferring, you're escalating. Every single agent and every single person across your organization should have the same details at their fingertips at all times. It shouldn't be that you've got to raise your hand and wait in the queue for someone to come over that's senior. You shouldn't have to escalate a call. If everyone's working on the same set of tools, everyone should be a live pro, just like the name says, a real live pro.
I love it. Now, one of the things that I always tell people when I'm talking to them about technology is you never want to give the keys to a Lamborghini to a toddler. And the reason that I say that is there's a lot of platforms out there, contact center platforms that it's got every bell and whistle in it, but what it doesn't have is that knowledge engine to really make the customer experience through the agent that's being that you're having the conversation with, or if you're doing some self-service, the consistency in the information that's being shared during every interaction, that's where I think that you're really getting at the intersection between agent experience and customer experience.
Right. I mean, agents are only as good as the tools that they have, right? And if they've got to go and sift through SharePoint, if they've got to go and sift through, I mean, I've seen some centers, they're still using notepads and pens. It's like in the Stone Age. If they've got sticky notes all over their desk, how do you know that they're using the most up-to-date version of knowledge that's there? How do you know that you're all across the board, especially now in a hybrid environment? How do you ensure that consistency across all channels? And, the consumers are getting more sophisticated too. They want a true omni-channel experience. They want to start with a text. And if they can't finish their or with a chat or whatever method they want to reach you, and if they can't solve their problem, then they want to talk to a live agent. Well, do you think now that I've been invested all this time that now I want to go start from scratch with someone? No. You want to have everything queued up and ready to pop that knowledge exactly where we are in the conversation to the agent so that they can just handle it and everyone can be on their way, right? So that speed and that accuracy and that precision just comes back and keeps coming back and coming back. And, agents want to be empowered. They want to be empowered to do the right thing. They want to be empowered. They want to be able to listen with very active listening skills. Empathy, huge, right? Yes. I want to be focusing on listening to the caller and what their true issue is, and not on my side, like, can I find this? And I'm nervous and there's anxiety. And I'm going to venture to say 9 times out of 10, that caller is not happy with my company to begin with. Right. So now I'm navigating that anxiety over an angry customer on top of the fact that I can't find what I need to satisfy the call.
99% of the calls that come into a contact center, live agent
Very
calls.
stressful. Very
Well, yeah,
stressful.
yeah, people, the customer's not calling in to say, "Hey, you did a great job." You
No.
know, I love,
No.
I love your product and service. The majority of the, I mean, that's being handled through surveys. Um,
Yep.
and
Yep.
it's the human interaction that, that's where the rubber meets the road. Can you turn a bad situation into, or a negative situation into a good situation? Um, so throughout your career, Valerie, you've had the opportunity to work globally with, amazing leaders,
Mm.
from a lot of very, very powerful and great organizations, large and small. What do some of the best organizations have in common?
I think they focus on their teams. They focus on their human capital. They focus on the training. They focus on making sure that they're fully supported, that their teams, and not just in the contact center, but across the organization, that culture is something that you feel, that it's palpable, that you know
Mhm.
your why. We talk a lot in this industry about what's your why.
Yes.
Everyone, top to bottom across the organization should know their why, should know why this job is important to them, why they do what they do, what their metrics are, how they can best perform. They should know. It should be no mystery, and what our
Yes.
goals are across the board. And I think the best leaders that I've seen, and I've been very blessed to work with some of the most world-class brands on a global level, to see them in action and to see, you can see, happy faces. You can hear a smile through the phone, and happy faces don't lie. You know who's happy and who's not. I could name
Yes.
a list, and what do those brands have in common, right? What do those brands all have in common? They all have the same things. They all have that same, the brand, the culture, the loyalty, the respect. I mean, they all know without hesitation what's important to them.
Everybody's singing from the same sheet of music.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
that's
Exactly.
awesome. Well,
And a
we've
lot of
gotten to the
companies talk about culture, but they don't always walk the walk, right? So, what
yes.
makes that different? Right? What makes a good, we've been hosting as a subset a women in contact center leadership conversation monthly, and we just had one about last month, really about like what makes a good mentor, what makes a good boss, like what are those qualities in that. And it's really that they are like heart-centered leaders, right? They
Yes.
listen from the heart, they listen to the whole conversation, they understand, they have the wisdom to take out their personal feelings on it and do what's best for the whole organization. And they also can see and champion where someone needs more training, where they need more coaching, and they work to bring the best out of you. And again, it goes back to what we were saying about passion and bringing your best to the table every single day. How do you do that without fail?
Yes. I love the heart-centered leadership. Um, if you can't be human and real as part of your culture, um, then I don't care what mural you have on your walls, either virtual or in a brick and mortar. It doesn't matter. Um, if you're not living that culture and living the values, on a daily basis, then people are going to know, okay, this is the flavor of the day or the month or the year or whatever. And you're not going to get that buy-in. You're going to get attrition. You're going to get all the things that make um, make that customer experience more difficult,
Mm-hmm.
because you
Mm-hmm.
have turnover, you have everything, and you're constantly trying to reinfuse that. So no,
Mm-hmm.
I love the way you put that. So
And culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? Isn't that what they?
yes, yes. So I don't know if there's a meme out there, but I could see a Pac-Man meme, as
Ah.
culture, and the little ghost as strategy. Anyway, um, I may have to play around with that. So Valerie, we got to the point of the conversation. I call it the speed round,
All right.
and I'm not going to ask baseball questions because I know who your team is. Um,
Oh, you
so
may get a surprising answer on that. I'm in
oh, there you
Boston, but you may get a surprising answer on that. And I'm not going to say one more word, but that's it.
go. I love it. So, what fact about Valerie would people be most surprised to know about you?
Oh boy. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of things I could answer that question with, but I will say a fun fact is that I was a contestant on the Wheel of Fortune.
Very nice. Very nice. I
Yeah.
love it. Now, did you win?
I won. I didn't make it to the bonus round, but
Okay.
I did win about $15,000. And
Okay.
this is going back. I mean, it's going back about 20 years. And it was an amazing experience. It was really a huge. It was something I'd always wanted to do.
Yes.
I used to watch all the time with my grandparents.
Uh-huh.
And it was something, my grandfather used to say to me all the time, you got to get on that show. You got to get on that show. And just after he passed, like 6 weeks later, I was on that show. So it was really
Oh my
awesome. And
gosh.
I feel like he helped me a lot that day too. Like my very first spin, this is when they had that like little wedge that was, I think now it's $1 million, but at the time it was $10,000.
Uh-huh.
And my very first spin, I got that wedge and I picked it up and I
Oh
wound
my
up solving
gosh.
the puzzle, and I could just feel him with me. So it was awesome.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Um,
And I know
you know,
you took a little bit of my Wheel of Fortune with you. I know you did
I
that.
did. I did.
Yeah.
We have for some of the ACCA, the Austin Contact Center virtual events that we did. We bring out the Wheel of Names, um,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I learned from you and the Contact Center Nation, virtual the meetups and stuff like that. I it if
It's fun.
anybody is interested in that, check out Wheel of Names, and it's a great way. I actually teach my daughter her vocabulary through that.
It's fun. I mean, we had to find ways in the virtual space to have some fun, right?
Yes. Yes. Oh, that's awesome. So, being a New Englander, what
Mm.
is your ideal off the grid location?
I'd say being on the water with my family. We don't live too far from the Cape, and we go a couple times a year fishing, which is really fun. I don't live too far from the ocean. I'm only a couple miles this way is the beach. So usually just unplug and take a nice walk by the water. It's nice to recharge.
I one of the things I remember about living out in New England is it didn't matter if it was the winter or the summer. There was something magical about taking a walk on the beach that just cleared everything. You know,
And you just go
um,
down there for just a few minutes and just let the day's stress just wash away, and you
yep,
can go on with it. No, it's fun. I always love walking around, not just Boston, but New York City. I love architecture and just
yep.
sort of seeing like different things, and just I love walking around cities, and not just the ocean.
Yeah. The people watching is kind of fun.
Superb, superb.
Especially in the larger cities, you just never know what you're going to get.
In New York, absolutely.
Forget
Yeah.
about it. so so Valerie, it's Girl Scout cookie season. Um,
Yes.
what's your go-to flavor?
Well, I was a Girl Scout for many years.
Okay.
I would say, there's several. They've changed the names, which
Yes.
kind of throws me off. So I know what I used to be called the Samoa. It's that
Yeah.
coconut one with the I
Uh-huh.
don't even know what they call it now.
I think they call it a caramel delight now.
Yeah, that sounds right. That sounds
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I can't keep
Excellent.
up.
And the one that I was hoping to get, and I just never ordered it in time, was the new raspberry one.
Oh, I don't
I
even
was
know
really
about the raspberry one.
yeah, it's only available online. You won't see it at your local outside of your local grocery store.
Oh,
So
I'm gonna keep an eye out. I love
um,
raspberry. I haven't seen that one.
I'm looking forward to hopefully ordering some if it's not too late. So if someone wants to learn more about the work that you're doing, um, they're interested in the women's networking group, the work that you're doing with Live Pro. I mean, I think it's a great platform, a great program. Um, how could aside from me doing an introduction with you and the team at Live Pro, but how else can people learn more or meet you or have a conversation with you? I know you love having virtual coffees, with folks. So
Yeah,
uh,
I've always got the virtual coffee ready. There's my mug.
there you go.
I think LinkedIn, just Valerie McSorley, just
Okay.
LinkedIn, my LinkedIn profile. I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. And also at livepro.com. You can go
Okay.
into livepro.com, very simple. And and you can also just email me. It's my name, valerie.mcsorley@livepro.com. And I'm always up for having a conversation. There's a lot of different ways that organizations can harness their knowledge to provide, really meaningful results and also cut costs. We don't even get into that too much, but there's a lot of cost cutting that we can do. And right now, with the current state of the economy, a lot of companies are there's a lot of layovers happening. We see them every single day on LinkedIn. There's a lot of ways that we can cut costs and also reduce headcount without having to, we can be smarter without having to actually reduce seats, or, the customers aren't going away, right? Your call volume isn't going to change. How can you effectively just move all the pieces around and save some money and just make your organization more run on more power?
And I think if I remember correctly, when we're recording this, I mean, you're probably about a week out or so from an event in New England, with the New England
Yeah.
Contact Center Forum. Are you and the team going to be there?
Yes. So the Northeast Contact Center Forum, their spring event, is happening on March 14th in the Boston area at the Franklin Country Club. I will be there. My CEO of LivePro will be there as well. He's here from Australia, which is going to be a really exciting opportunity for us to have him there. He's going to be speaking about executive leadership in the contact center space. So I'm really excited to see him in action. And, the day is always great like that. I have a very long history with NECCF, and they always do a great job of putting together contact center leaders for great discussion, great learning. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, Mike Pace and the whole group up there just does puts together some really great events, and I know you were a big part of that for many years. So
yeah, long time, 15.
Yeah. My gosh. And for those wondering, that yes, that's how Valerie and I came to know each other. So
Yeah.
so um well, Valerie, thank you very much. I appreciate you carving out time in your schedule to have a virtual coffee with me on Coffee Talk with Brohawk. And I look forward to the next time we're able to meet in person, either in Austin or Boston.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate your
Hey,
time.
thank you. Have a great day.